Okay. I have some props here. So for those of you that didn't raise your hand, 16 millimeter film comes in these spools. You can get it in 400 feet or you can get it in 100 feet. And 16 millimeter film is half of 35 millimeter film, which is the standard for shooting on film. Has been the standard for productions for a very long time. 16 millimeter film is half the size, like I said, which means that productions are cheaper. And so a lot of low-budget films in the 20th century were shot on 16 millimeter film. And just last year, 16 millimeter film celebrated its 100-year anniversary. So yes, Kodak in the United States still makes film, and they're the only film manufacturer. Yes, please can hold that. They're the only film manufacturer in the United States right now. 16 millimeter film looks like this. They come in daylight spools like this, and daylight spools are these spools that have these black walls that you can load it in daylight. But if you're loading it on a regular spool, you have to have one of these. Does anyone know what this is? Light bag. Yeah. So essentially, if you have to load a film magazine to put in your motion picture camera, you have to put your hands into this bag, and you cannot see anything that you're doing whatsoever. So you deliberately blind yourself. So you're having to feel the film with your hands, and you have to know where exactly the spool fits onto the spool holder on the magazine. So I'm making this project on film, and we began proof of concept in 2021. We began filming. And we filmed on Main Street on one of these old homes. My friend was a Bradley University student at the time. He was the gaffer and grip on our film. And he was renting a room in one of these homes, so we decided to film in this upper floor in this old 1930s home. And it had a gable door. It was a very beautiful, peculiar atmosphere. So I wanted to film one of the scenes here. And production began. I had never shot a project in 16 millimeter film before this proof of concept. So who knew? I had no idea what I was getting myself into. We filmed a couple of scenes. I go to change the magazine and unload, put my hands in the bag, the film magazine in the bag, and I'm unloading, and there's this thing called a core adapter. So a spool has an opening like this, and there's an adapter piece that fits inside that fits on the magazine. And you have to push that out after you take the spool off of the magazine, otherwise you send that to the film lab. That belongs on the magazine. So you have to exert a lot of force on that adapter. And I pushed that out, and I pushed the plastic core holder that was holding all of the film out along with it. And what happened with the film? It coned. It coned on the inside. Exactly. So have you ever made ribbons and twisted ribbons before? So and you let go and the coil is furled. Well, it unfurled, and we had production, and there were still scenes to film, and my hands were trapped in this bag. I can't rip my hands out of the sleeves because light will leak in. So I spent an hour and a half slowly winding the film back onto the spool, and my back was cloaked with perspiration, and I was questioning my crew members, what's going on? Is everything okay? So I alerted my gaffer and grip what happened, and he, fortunately, because we were filming in his apartment, had another light bag. So what we ended up doing was running up to this room, and I had my hand in this light bag the whole time, and we go into this room, and we have to seal all of the cracks and crevices with gaffer's tape, because we couldn't have light leaking in. So we spent about half an hour sealing this entire room with gaffer's tape, and we made this transfer from one light bag to another, so I can use that light bag to load the film magazines. And we left the film, unfurled film, in that light bag. And I was so nervous afterwards. Eventually we were able to finish production that day by the grace of God. And I alerted the lab about what happened, and they said, oh, that happens all the time. We accept unraveled film. And of course, I sent all my film to the oldest running laboratory in the United States called Cinelab in Boston, Massachusetts. And they've done a fantastic job with transferring film to digital, which is what you will see tonight. So we had a success. I received the film back, and there was only about 50 foot of the film grazed. Because my fingers, this film is very fragile, so any pressure, your fingernails scraping up against it will create light scratches and blue marks. Anyhow, so we only had 50 feet compromised. There was one shot we couldn't use, but it made the film better. And I think connecting it to what we were talking, you two have been mentioning earlier about the unknown. There's so much we cannot see. And this is a perfect metaphor for filmmaking. There's so much you cannot see, but you have to have faith. You have to have faith in what you're doing, and you cannot rely on your own strength. And everything that happens while you're making a film, whether it's the mistakes, the failures, that is contributing to the story. Because there's two stories that are being told. The story that you're making, and the story of you making the film. And if we want to have films that are transformative for people, the filmmaker has to be transformed. And you have to humble yourself. You have to have faith. So that's my story. Thank you.
When I said nobody takes film more seriously than Bill Jacobs, has anyone deliberately blinded themselves making a film before? I rest my case. Incredible stuff, man. All right, Gio, tough act to follow, no question. But what's been your biggest oh shit moment in production, and what did you learn from it?
Okay, I wasn't ready for that question, but I just have a general failure story. That's all right.
That's fine too.
I'm like nervous for some reason. Y'all did too good, but here we go.
Can we get Gio? Just gotta talk through it, right, Tom?
Okay, there we go. I made a short film called Cantina. It just means bar in Spanish. That was during a year where I challenged myself to make one short film a month for the whole year, and I made one that whole year, and that was it. And it's funny looking back, but it was very stressful. I felt like a failure at the time. I'm like an independent filmmaker, so like a lot of the times I'm just working with volunteers, people that I'm like, hey, I'll teach you how to use a sound recorder, but they've never done it before. Even the same thing with like actors. And I usually try to make short films so I can do it in like 1 or 2 days so that I'm not taking up people's time since we're all volunteering. So we wanted to make this film. It was just gonna be a 2-day shoot. The only bar that we found, thankfully our cinematographer, who made a film that's showing tomorrow, his name's Bryce, great guy. I think that was like the first film he got to work on with me, which was pretty awesome because he does great work now. And he did great on the movie too, but it was a learning progress. So he's from like a very small town called Manitou or Manitou, and he was like, hey, I know the owner of this bar, he got us, we can use it. I was like, perfect. And it was like, from here it's like an hour or so away. So we all had to get up super early because we were gonna, start bright and early, 7 a.m., knock it out in like 8 hours. And then we get there to learn that the bar was supposed to be unlocked and we could just like go in there and do our thing. And that was not the case. And then Bry's like, oh snap, like the guy's probably still sleeping, I don't want to wake him up. So I can't even remember exactly, but it was like 2 hours of just having to wait. So somebody who wasn't even the owner somehow came and opened it for us. So like right from the bat, we were like 2 hours behind. And like I said, it was like a lot of new people. So yeah, basically that day ended up being like 17 hours of just being there. And then we still had to drive like an hour home. And then to make it worse, we got stuck behind a train for like 20 minutes trying to make it home. So it felt like a 24-hour day. And we actually shot that in the winter, but part of the story that I thought was really important was like a flashback scene with the father and his kid, who is a girl. So we waited a couple months to just shoot that flashback scene. Should only take like 5 minutes. I just wanted them kind of to be out in nature. We knew someone that had like a farm, and they would just go. And I had like the worst allergic reaction I've ever had in my entire life. Like, it looked like I was sobbing. It was like snotting all over the place. I like went to the lady's house looking for some allergy medicine, and she didn't have any. It's fine. And so we still shot it though. I just couldn't see very well. And I was still very thankful. I edited the short film, but to me, like there was failures in the production part of it, and I think we're like our own worst critics. So to me, I finished the film, but I was like, I don't really love it. Like in my mind, I saw it a little bit differently, but I wanted like to honor everyone's time. So we ended up doing like a local screening for it, just at my local church that does use like their screens and stuff. And it was just cool because to me, I was like not really proud of it, to be honest. I was hoping it would be better. But after the screening, especially like the actors who were also like up and coming actors, like this was kind of the first short film. Like I could just see it in their eyes, like once like the film finished, and I even did like a short Q&A with them. Like they thought it was amazing, and they were just like really proud of the work we all put together as a team. And it's just been awesome to see like all those actors are now like working on film all the time. Like they go to Chicago to film stuff. So I guess my little nugget of failure is sometimes even when you fail, like there's so great things that come out of it. And funnily enough, I randomly like watched that short film back, and I was like, it's not even that bad. It was like pretty good. So
that's great, man.
Yeah.
And we are our own worst critic, and we let perfect be the enemy of good all the time as filmmakers, and if we lean more into failure, like Doug is doing here, and did he leave? Okay. Got his name right and everything. But anyway, I think if we can look at failure as less of a dead end and more of a detour to something better, and if this is a community too, Greater Peoria is a community where like we're trying to embrace widening the circle for everybody. We're inclusive and we embrace failure because that's where like the magic can happen. So you got to go for it. You got to shoot for the moon. And anyway, real quickly, I want to do one more. If we can make it brief with each of you, I want to ask you if you have one piece of advice for a novice filmmaker just starting out. It could be excuse me. You want to go first? One piece. Let's hear it.
If you can imagine yourself doing anything else, do it. Have you had a sort of hankering to go to dental hygienist school? Do it. Because the only way you're going to make it in independent cinema is that you just literally have a lack of imagination of anything else that you could spend your time on. No, because it's not going to make you rich unless you're super lucky and, talented, but also lucky with that talent, because there are plenty of massively talented people who don't ever, get on the money train. That's probably not really what you were talking about.
Well, not quite, but I think it's a good message nonetheless. Anyway, Will, you go ahead. One piece of positive advice for them. Don't tell them to quit the industry.
Positive. Well, there's 100 things I could say. I think number one, don't go to film school. Please don't go to film school. That's where you will die as a filmmaker. And don't go to entertainment capitals, because that's where you'll also die as a filmmaker. I think you should remain where you are and look at your immediate culture and your immediate community and embrace the resources that you have. Limitations offer unforeseeable possibilities. That's a line in Poet in a Modern World, actually. The art instructor says it. But I believe you have to integrate yourself in your local communities. Just like all of us here, I believe. I know you're from Chicago, but all of us here, the other filmmakers involved, local filmmakers involved, have embraced Peoria. And that's what I believe now every filmmaker ought to do, because there's no reason to go to Hollywood anymore. There's no reason to go to entertainment capitals, because we have all of the technology available to us immediately. That's a miracle. But we have to be careful. This is another thing. Number two is be responsible for the images that you create. Because you can point a camera anywhere now, and you can make anything. That's frightening. You have to have humility and patience. That's number three. I think anything that you create is a gift. You've been given an opportunity to create, and you should be grateful for every single moment that you are creating. And especially in the digital age where you're not conscious of the passing of time, and you just have a little time meter on your digital screen. One reason why I returned to film is because you become very conscious of time. And it's not only on your conscience, but on the conscience of the cast and crew. And there's something about that enjoins everyone to give their utmost to creating. So those are my three little pieces of advice.
Hopefully you guys wrote those down. Go ahead, Gio.
All right, I got 7 for y'all. No, I'm just saying. I think I would say film is awesome. You should definitely do it, even just as a hobby or just, I don't know, it's like you said, it's easy to do it nowadays. And it's nice to be creative. And it's a great thing to be passionate about. I guess my advice to be is figure out what else you're passionate about outside of film so you can incorporate that into your film. Because I'm definitely a big believer that movies are more than just entertainment, and they can really make people talk about things that are important. So there's my advice.
That's awesome.
Follow your dreams, man.
All right, everyone, give it up. One more. I did want to say, I just got terrific news for those of you who enjoy alcohol. There's a lot of alcohol left, and we will be taking a 5-minute break before the film starting. Real quickly, we'll be showing 8 films. They represent the work of filmmakers who have embraced the unknown, taken risks, and allowed their failures to lead them to unexpected discoveries. Each misstep has paved the way for new insights, and we're about to experience those powerful results right now in 5 minutes. Enjoy the show.